Hey guys, so we're gonna have to speed run this a little bit because I have tried recording this video 6 times today. So I have talked more about these toys in the past 2 hours than I have in the past 7 years. So let's get this going. All right, y'all already know the tiers. Scalper's price, pay whatever they're selling it for. Higher price, pay a little bit more than it probably should be sold for, but the figure's worth it. Get it if you can afford it. If you can afford it, get it. If you can't, you're not going to miss out on much, and they're more than likely going to sell a lower priced one later on. Pass. Get it if you really, really want it, but other than that, you don't really need it. Plastic Tactic Victim, these are the worst of the worst. Don't get these unless you want to torture yourself. So, beginning RC triplets. Bottom of get it if you can afford it. They scale well. They are accurate to the designs of the movie, so I'm not going to hold that against them. They were sold as a deluxe class for three Legends class formerly Legends class figures. You might know them now as core class figures. But yeah, they do have their issues. Ball joints everywhere. There's ball joints. Everything's a ball joint, which does mean that eventually these are going to be very loose, very fiddly figures. But other than that, I like them. They're all right. Grindor is a better Blackout. Hightower is one of the better Constructicons. I just wish his combined mode was better. I wish they had gone with what the movie did, where he makes up the forearm but not the actual full arm itself. Plus, the head just sticking off the thumb is kind of ugly. Jetfire, one of the best figures in the Studio Series line. Just wish they didn't use soft plastic on his face, and also wish his hands could actually close. Jolt, perfectly middle ground figure. This is like not great, not terrible, as middle ground as you can be. Long haul needed to be a leader class figure. Well, okay, it needs so it's a Voyager class size figure, which I do agree with the robot mode being the size of a Voyager. However, I wish they made him a leader class and give him a leader class engineering, because as is right now, he gets in his own way. Also, his combined mode's not the most accurate, but that's not too big of an issue. It's still mostly accurate. Mixmaster, not as good as Hightower, better than Long Haul. I just wish he doesn't get in his own way like Long Haul does, but I just wish he did more with the articulation he has. So like I wish he had an ankle pivot. I wish he had wrist rotation so he could actually have proper hands and things like that. Whereas Hightower, though it doesn't have as much articulation, he can do more with it. Bumblebee is about equal to Jolt, however, due to QC issues that are pretty widespread among this figure, I'm going to put him below. Uh, Overload, probably one of the most scalped figures in the Studio Series line. I would pay a higher price. I wouldn't buy them for. Some of these figures are some of the Overload figures are being sold for the same price that the Devastator box set was sold for. So I would get it if you can find it for a good price, but I wouldn't pay whatever the scalpers are charging for it. Rampage is my least favorite of the Constructicons. He's going above Jolt, or no, he's going to go below Jolt. No, he's going above Jolt. I don't want to be too harsh on him. He's too big. Remember, he's only a foot or two taller than Bumblebee in the movie. He's the same height as Mixmaster, actually. And Mixmaster, the reason I don't say Mixmaster is too big is because you kind of have to make him a Voyager. There's no way to really engineer Mixmaster as the collar itself and have Scavenger be the head like it is in the movie. So you have to make Mixmaster the head. So they have to make him a Voyager class. But on Mixmaster, you can at least finagle the legs. You can angle them to the point where he does fit at the deluxe class scale. Rampage, you can't do much without him looking very, very awkward. Um, Plus, they don't do enough to hide his vehicle away. It's basically his vehicle mode folded in half. Like that's it. Like untab the treads, fold the vehicle in half. You're done. That's pretty much it. It's a two-step changer with some like two or three extra steps in there. Also, I wish this is more criticism of the movie, not the toy itself, but I wish they stopped doing designs that require a stand to stand up. Megatron this is my personal favorite design of Megatron. Well, no. Okay. This once they do the Last Night Megatron, which I hope they do, that will be my favorite. But this is my favorite of the mega designs of the Megatron we have right now. I just wish they did more to hide the gaps in his sides, and also I wish he had a better paint job. But they do rectify the paint job on the battle damage version. So Optimus Prime, I'm putting him above Long Haul. He doesn't. Long Haul has too many clearance issues as far as transformation for me to put him above Optimus. This is definitely the weakest Optimus Prime figure in the Studio Series line, at least as far as the Bayverse movies go. But it's still a pretty good figure overall. I do like the way the swords slide into the hand, but they have that little plate that actually covers it. That's really clever. I wish they did more stuff like that on the weapon accessories. Definitely needed a brighter paint job, though. Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe. I'll put him below Long Haul, above Ravage. This is a severe downgrade from the original Dark of the Moon Sideswipe, which, okay, they did have to incorporate more parts, but if you're going to incorporate more parts, change the engineering. The engineering on this guy is pretty much the same as the Dark of the Moon figure, and it kills it because it has this new backpack that it needs to somehow clean up. And the thing is that the backpack is so heavy that my figure, when I had it, couldn't even stand up unless he was hunched over severely. Yeah, no. Severe downgrade from the original. It does have a better look overall, like paint job wise, but that's not enough to make up for all of its faults. Satellite Soundwave. You can pass on this figure. Well, you know what? I like him just a little bit better than the RC. You know what? I think I put the RC triplets just a bit too high. They're not going into Plastic Addict, but yeah. So I'll put him below Bumblebee. He doesn't have any QC issues. As far as I know, he doesn't. My main issue with him, paint job, is really not a good paint job. And upset. What's the word I'm looking for? Over excessive use of clear, transparent plastic. So at first glance, you don't notice it. You don't notice the clear plastic until you look at the canisters that fold out on vehicle mode or satellite mode. Those are on a clear plastic ball joint and hinge piece, which that's going to break over time. That's going to break. But if you look closer, his hands, like the whole hand and blade section, is also clear plastic for no reason. There's no clear plastic on there. It did not need to be there. And then the little blades that fold out on the feet, also clear plastic. And they're on they're on a ratchet joint, basically. It's not like your traditional ratchet joint where you have a gear and then you have like a little notch that slips into the teeth and then it clicks as you move it. This is like if you took like a hexagon hole and then you made a square and the corners of the square would latch into the notches of the hexagon. That's basically what it is. So that's going to wear down over time. Why they didn't just make him the entire figure out of that gray plastic and then use clear plastic inlays on the specific sections, I don't know. But this figure is probably going to show some QC issues later on down the line. Scavenger is probably the weakest leader class figure in the entirety of, well, one of the weakest Studio Series leader class figures in the line. The reason why is because, well, you can go watch TJ Omega's Plastic Addict video if you want to learn why this design is not good for a figure. They do fix some of the issues of the original, though. The treads are not soft plastic like they were on that original figure, which I believe now we're seeing issues with that original figure of like the treads, they aren't breaking down in the traditional way that soft plastic does. What's happening is like there's a chemical that's leaking out and actually dissolving the hard plastic around it. So they did rectify that issue. He also is actually painted. He does have a good paint job. I just wish they didn't. But the main issue. Sorry, I cannot talk today. I've tried to record this 6 times. But the main issue I have with this figure, he is way too small. This needed to be a commander class figure, if not a Titan. I think a Titan might be pushing it a bit, but this needed to be gigantic. Remember in the movie, Optimus Prime, well, that's Demolishor, but they're basically the same screen model. But Demolishor, when Optimus Prime jumps off the bridge onto him, he's dangling off his face, and he's a good like 20 feet off the ground while he's doing it. And like Ironhide was like riding on his wheel. This dude needed to be so much bigger than he is now. And I think if you did make him a commander class, sorry, you could work in the engineering to make the head a part of Scavenger instead of making it Mixmaster, but that might be overcomplicating things a bit. But yeah, definitely needed to be a much bigger figure. Scrap Metal. This is one of the more scalped figures in this line, like overall. I like him better than Optimus Prime. However, well, you know what? Now that I remembered something. Put him above Rampage. He has the Scrap Metal in the movie. I think I might have called him Scrapper or something, but Scrap Metal in the movie doesn't make up the hand of Devastator. So we've automatically got a wrong combination. Like the hand on Devastator in the Studio Series line is wrong. Buckethead was the name of the figure that actually made up the hand of Devastator. Scrap Metal makes up the shoulder connection. So like the shoulder and bicep is Scrap Metal, the forearm is Hightower, and the hand is Buckethead. That might be overcomplicating the engineering a bit, but the fact that they made this the hand, despite us clearly seeing that this is not the vehicle mode that makes up the hand of Devastator, is a bit weird and a bit... It's just wrong. It's not something that needs to be there. He does scale well, though. But yeah, good overall. Well, I like him. You know what? I like him better than Scavenger, just because he scales better, and you can actually pose him. You don't have like Scavenger. You get one or two poses and that's it. This guy you can actually pose around though. But yeah, the wrong combination mode does bump him down. He would be up here if he was like if he connected as the shoulder, he'd be up here, but as is right there. Scrapper. This is my personal favorite of the Constructicons. Now, I might be personally biased against the Constructicons just because the guy that I bought them from painted them. And he painted them to give them like this battle damaged and desert worn look. In actuality, what he did was he took black paint and just scraped it all over them and made them look really ugly looking. So I unfortunately had to do that. I had to strip all the paint off, all of it, and then try and repaint it back to the original, which doesn't look as good, but it does look better than what he did. Which you might see that reflected in how I feel about Devastator later. But Scrapper overall, great vehicle. Well, the vehicle mode, it's a bit suggestive as far as like, yeah, it kind of looks like a front loader, you know, but the robot mode looks really good. I think this is a great figure overall. Definitely my personal favorite. I love this design. Plus, he has the correct combination mode. So, Sideways. I love Sideways. I love this guy. He's still on the shelves, so I'm not going to say you should buy him for whatever the scalpers are pricing him for just because he's still out there. You should go get him immediately. But however, if you can't find him in your local area and you do have to search online, I would be saying you should pay a little bit higher of a price for it. Great articulation. The weapon integration on this guy is amazing. One of the best weapon integrations I've ever seen. Great looking vehicle mode. They couldn't get the license for the actual vehicle, but they got close enough. One problem, I just wish the ball joints on the feet were tighter. That's it. That is literally my only issue, is that I wish the ball joints on his feet were tighter, and I wish the shoulders were a little bit tighter, but that's it. Like, that's the only problem I have with this guy. If they, like I said in my last video, if they do a new Barricade for the Dark of the Moon movie, which they could do, he was in that movie, they definitely need to use this mold. They need to take inspiration from this guy. Skipjack I like better than Rampage just because I think the yellow works better, but it's still the same issues. Revenge of the Fallen Starscream. He has all the same issues as the mold does, but he's got that better paint. I wish, you know what, I'm going to bump him below Grindor. The reason why is because all they did was they took the 07 version, and instead of altering the paint job to make him darker like he was in the movie and then adding the tattoos, they just basically took that figure and just added the tattoos on there. And it doesn't look great in my opinion. I wish they had gone with a darker shade of plastic overall. But still a great figure. The Fall In. This dude's already getting. Sorry. I'm seeing this dude already being sold for like $200 on online stores. Great figure overall. Bit of a nothing vehicle mode, but he didn't have a vehicle mode in the movie, so we're not gonna hold that against him. The best Fallen figure we've ever gotten. So, all right, not too much else to say on that. I do wish he wasn't made of that tinted plastic. I wish he was just made of the gray plastic. They used tinted plastic, which is stronger. It doesn't have the same degradation as just the clear plastic or the transparent plastic, but still. Now we get to the big guy, the main selling point of the Studio Series line when it first launched, Devastator. And I'm going to be ranking this as the box set. So like I ranked the individual figures on their own. Now I'm ranking the box set. This is like what you would buy if you wanted to get all of them at once and then get Devastator. And I know I'm probably going to get a bunch of hate for this, but get it if you can afford it. I think the Constructicons in the Studio Series line work better individually than they do as a whole. Now, Devastator looks good. He looks good. Got the wrong hand. You can't do anything with him. They put him in the bipedal stance, even though in the movie he appears on all fours. They no head articulation. The shoulder joints are really like the shoulder that Scavenger makes really thin, does not look great. Overall, you know what? I'm being a little harsh. This is overall a good set. I just don't think it's so good that you should be paying what the scalpers are charging for it. That's probably a better way of putting it. All right, so we don't have any plastic addict victims here. But let's see, do I feel like I'm being too harsh on something? I don't think I'm being too harsh on Devastator here. I think that's, you know, I might have been, no, I like this. I think this is good as far as like an accurate rating, in my personal opinion. I'm not going to be like, this is objectively, no, like, this is my personal feeling. So, that being said, I'm going to end it here. I'm terrible with YouTube outros, so I'm going to end it here. I will see you guys some other time. Guys, I need your help. Okay, so the algorithm is the #1 enemy of all YouTube channels. Any YouTube channel that's trying to start up or isn't pre-established is going to fail because of the algorithm. So what I need you to do, I need you to do 2 things. 1, I need you to hit like. 2, I need you to subscribe. If you don't do either of those things, this channel is not going to be able to stay afloat for very long. So please, like, subscribe, and if you really like me, you might leave a comment while you're at it. Thank you very much.